Welcome back to the SSL Family Dad channel. Today I'm going to show you how to make these very simple drawer boxes as well as drawer faces. So I'll start with the drawer boxes, and before I get started I will just say a couple things. Number one, I'm trying to do this with as many simple tools as possible. I do have a table saw, I have a portable circular saw, I have sanders, and I did buy a pocket hole jig, a Kreg jig, and I will put a link in the description to that tool. That will help you not have to have router tables and dado blades and other things to make more complex joinery. The pocket hole screws are perfect for this. And you'll need also a little bit of wood glue. With the wood glue and the pocket hole screws, these drawer boxes are plenty strong enough for many, many years to come. I bought some self-closing drawer slides on Amazon, and I went ahead and installed those into the cabinet carcasses that I already made in a previous video. Once I have the drawer slides mounted into the cabinet carcass exactly where I wanted them, I could take a measurement between the two drawer slides. That will give me the exact dimensions of my drawer box. Now you can make these as deep or as shallow as you really like. You can make them go all the way to the back of the cabinet, or you can keep them a little bit shorter. I just kind of took a guess and made them, I think, 2 feet long. So I'm using all 1/2-inch plywood for the drawer boxes. That's what I used, made all my cabinet carcasses out of, and it's helped save a little bit of money. The 1/2-inch plywood is a birch plywood, and so it's a little bit nicer than the pine, and it has a nice finish on the front. Even though these are all gonna be hidden, we don't really care about that. So I measured the depth of my box and got all my dimensions, and I started to cut a bunch of plywood. So I ripped the plywood into strips first and then cut it into the dimensions that I needed for my box. On the boxes, this is going to be the front, and you want your pocket hole screws to be on this front piece into the sides. That way when you open the drawer, you're going to have a clean face along the side. You're not going to see any pocket holes or anything like that. You'll have this nice clean piece of wood. Before we put the drawer box together, we need to cut in a groove for the bottom panel to fit in all of the sides, the back and the front. The 1/4-inch paneling is set into that groove on each side, and it is about 1/4 inch off of the bottom. So I just went ahead and set my fence about 1/4 inch or a little bit more if you want, off of the blade, and then I ran all of my side, front, and back pieces through and just got one kerf of the blade. And then you move your fence over just a little bit more, and you'll run those through all again. And you want to keep doing that just a tiny little bit at a time, and then using a scrap piece of 1/4-inch plywood to test fit it. Once you get a perfect fit, you'll stop running those through, and then you'll have your groove. Now I set that groove to about 1/4 inch deep, so I just had my table saw blade set about 1/4 inch off of the bed, and that gives this plenty of room to fit into to these sides. And I went ahead and measured the 1/4-inch piece of plywood, the panel to fit in the bottom, and cut that out as well. Assembly of the drawer is super simple. We're going to use a little bit of wood glue and some pocket hole screws. You're going to use 1-inch pocket hole screws. Go ahead and set. You can do more than 2 if you want. You could probably do 3 or 4 along the front and the back. But just went ahead and drilled the holes for the pocket hole screws. Put glue around everything, even in the panel, the groove that the 1/4-inch panel fits into. I put glue on everything, and then went ahead and screwed this together with the pocket hole screws. Once this dried up, it is super solid. There's nothing that's gonna, I can't imagine what you could possibly do to this drawer to pull this thing apart. Once I got the box all done, I went ahead and put the other side of the slide mounted on the drawer. I just set the drawer in there, made some marks on the drawer exactly where I wanted the slide to be so that it was not touching the bottom or the top of my face frames, and then went ahead and put the other side of the drawer slide on the drawer box. And then push those in and test fit everything. I'll put a link in the description to the drawer slides that I used. They seem to be pretty good. The next thing I needed to do was make the faces, or the drawer fronts, whatever you want to call them. So the drawer faces and all of the cabinet doors that I'm going to make here are all a shaker style, and they're all going to be built identically. They're all going to be built the same type of construction. I did this a little different than I've seen a lot of other people do it online. You can do this with just a table saw and a pocket hole screw and some wood glue. So this is kind of a simple way to do it. So I'm using the same 1/4 inch plywood to make the face of this, or the interior part of this, and then the rails and stiles are made out of 3/4 inch pine. I use pine because it's cheaper. So all of these are 2-inch strips, the rails and stiles. I just ripped a bunch of those into 2-inch strips because I was going to be using it to make a lot of these faces and a lot of cupboard doors as well. Once I had all of the 2-inch rails and stiles ripped down on the table saw, I went ahead and measured each space individually. The way I've designed these is these are actually going to mount on the face of the drawer itself, and then this is going to close, and the outside of the face is going to rest on the front of my cabinet carcass. So they're not going to fit right into the spot for the drawer. They're going to actually close onto the face, so they'll stop on the face. So I oversized these. Once I had my measurement for the first one, I went ahead and cut my rails and stiles down to the proper size, and then I did the same kind of process that we did for the drawers. I took this and I made it exactly on this one, exactly 1/4 inch off of one side of the rails and stiles. So I actually took a piece of 1/4 inch plywood and set it between my fence and the saw blade so I could get a perfect 1/4 inch spacing there. And then I started to run all the rails and stiles through to make this groove that the paneling will fit into. Same as the drawers, you're gonna run it through one time, you're gonna bump your fence over just a tad, run it through again, and just keep test fitting with a piece of scrap 1/4 inch plywood until it fits in there just right. Now, the reason it's important to make this exactly 1/4 inch off of the back is because I'm actually gonna take scrap pieces of 1/4 inch and glue them to the inside of this. That's going to help to get rid of the void that would be between the two of these. When I put them together, there's going to be a void in there. So I'm going to fill that void so that I have something solid to screw in my poles to, my handles on the front of this, so that it doesn't bow the 1/4 inch plywood when I screw those through, so it'll be solid. And just like the drawers, they're going to go together. I just used a single pocket screw on each side of this, and that seems to be just fine. With the wood glue, I put wood glue in the paneling groove as well, put this all together and screwed it together. This is super solid. The panels do not move in here. The glue holds everything together. The panel helps to hold everything square and stable as well. And these things turned out just perfect. Now you might be thinking, you're gonna end up with a groove at the end of each of these, and that is true. So what I like to do with these, because these are all gonna be paint grade, I'm not staining this, I can do a little bit of hiding of things. And so I went ahead, I usually use drywall mud for this. You can use your wood putty, wood spackle, or whatever you want to use, wood filler. I usually have a bunch of drywall mud later on. It works just fine for this kind of stuff. I filled all those with mud, and then I went ahead and filled all of the faces and knots and any other spots, joinery between the two boards here, and same thing on the faces. And then I sanded all of that perfectly smooth. So once this is primed and painted, you won't see any of these connections. This will look like one solid piece, and you won't see the end of these as well. So all of that will be covered. I did the same thing for all the cabinet doors and other fronts. I had some false fronts and some other things I made for all the cabinets, and they're all made in the same exact way. So this ends up being a very simple way, without especially a router table or making dove joints or any box joints or anything like that. This is just butt joints. Everything is all screwed and glued with pocket holes and regular wood glue, and I think this is gonna hold up just fine. So like I said, if you were maybe using this for like pipe wrenches or something in a shop, and you'd want to beef it up a little more, maybe put a thicker piece of plywood on the bottom, maybe use 3/4 inch plywood, and then maybe do some other kind of joinery. But these are just going to hold some utensils and some little supplies and things like that for a snack bar, basically. And so I can't imagine that they won't be tough enough for the job. Let me know what you guys think. Just kind of a quick walkthrough of how I made these as simply as I could. There's a ton of videos out there on YouTube that were helpful to get me to this point, but I didn't see a lot of people doing it this way. You see all these guys out there, they've got a lot of tools. I'm about halfway to some of those guys, but I still don't have a lot of the stuff they have. So I try to do it as simply as possible. So hopefully you can do the same at home. Making cabinets is actually not as complicated as it sounds and looks, and you can do it. Let me know if you have any questions, comments, or things to add to the discussion. I'd love to hear from you guys. Don't forget to hit thumbs up on today's video. Subscribe to the channel if you'd love to follow along. And as always, guys, thanks for watching. Have a good one.